And in today's podcast, it's all about 3 year corporate bonds and how attractive are they for investors. We have seen a lot of issuances on the 3 year maturity corporate bonds by a whole host of investors, from highly rated, strong issuers to even high yield bonds who are the weaker issuers. But there seems to be a lot of demand for investors for these 3 year bonds. Let's analyze why. And before that, what is Let's Talk Bonds? Let's Talk Bonds is a podcast where I'll take you through what are the options available for investors and financial advisors alike to invest in bonds or fixed income in products in during in a in the current market environment. Every week we cover various types of bonds and various bonds which are either good or bad, and we look and talk about them and analyze them and help investors and financial advisors to take informed investment decisions on their uh, fixed income investments. Do not forget to download our app, Quick Invest by NR Bonds, iOS and Android, where we give the curated list of bonds that helps investors to choose the right bonds to invest for their portfolio, and financial advisors to choose the right bonds for their clients with the most information, proprietary risk score, and a very easy in-app transaction process.
It was a tough journey going from an intern to a senior professional. Now, to protect my savings against high inflation and grow my wealth, I invest in bonds with INR Bonds. Download the INR Bonds app to save better.
Back to Let's Talk Bonds and 3 year bonds. We have seen a lot of issuances of 3 year bonds. Let's talk about where the returns are. So, if you invest in a 3 year government bond, you will get 6.80% annualized or 6.7% semi annual. If you take 3 year state government loan or SDL, which are state government bonds, it's around 7.25% annual or 7.15% semi. And if you take the Bharat Bond ETF, it's around 7.07, 7.05%. Then anything over that, corporate bonds, if you take the issuers from AAA PSU bonds, where most of them are issuing at 7.25%. People, investors, issuers like NABARD, issuers like SIDBI or HPCL are all in the lower end of the 3 year range, which is around 7.25% to 7.45%. The IREDA was another government entity, was issuing bonds at around 7.4 over 7.45%. And as we go along, we have companies like Hero FinCorp, part of the Hero Group, issuing 3 year bonds at 7.99%. Fullerton issuing at around 7.9%. And other such companies issuing around this range, 6.75%. India Grid Trust, you have Crompton Greaves that came out at around 7.5%. All these have been issuers that have issued corporate bonds in the 3 year maturity. We also had issuers like L&T Finance issuing 3 year bonds at 7.75%. HDB Financial Services, which is HDFC subsidiary, again 3 year bond at 7.7%. Tata Capital Finance issuing their slightly higher 5 year bonds at just over at around 7.95%. That's Tata Capital is issuing 5 year bonds at 7.89%. So you have many of these issuers. Most of these are in the 3 year category. So 3 year bonds are finding more and more attractive for investors, given that government bond yields at 6.80%. And if you get 1% over a 3 year government bond yield for high safety, and if you have that much, given that it's lower interest, lower maturity, then it does make sense to invest in a 3 year bond rather than a 3 year government bond, or even a 10-year government bond, which is closer to around 7.4%, where you're taking interest rate risk. The outlook for interest rates, as you all know from attending all or reading all INR bonds material, is that we are still seeing some kind of a negative outlook. A lot of the factors are still not played out, and a long way to go for interest rates to stabilize. On the higher yield side, you have companies like Shriram Transport, which is largely traded in the retail individual market, investor market. 3-year bonds are closer to 8.5%. And as we go up, we have a lot of other high yield 3-year bonds. Many of them have come into the market to issue 3-year bonds. And these are all anywhere between 11 to 15, 16%. Obviously, higher risk. And if investors do know what risk they're taking, but if they have the information, if they do know what is the risk they're taking, then they can look at these. But again, it's very, very difficult to know the risk unless you are guided by experts who understand the risk of these such kind of issuers. You also had 10-year issuances from HDFC at 8%. Then other issuers issuing longer maturity bonds like TVS Credit Services at 6-year bonds at 9.5%. All these are promoted. TVS is promoted by TVS Motors, which is one of the best credits in the country. So hence, you do have wide variety, but most of the issuances and investor demand seems to be in that 3-year category. And given that the yields are also attractive, it is finding favor with a lot of institutional investors and some of the other non-institutional investors as well. With this, so we close what this week's podcast. I'm very happy to take in any comments, questions, suggestions on the podcast from you. You can DM us on Twitter, or you can respond to you can comment on our various channels as well on the podcast. Do not forget to follow us on all the podcast channels, from YouTube to Apple Podcast to Spotify to Amazon Music. And yes, look forward to hearing from you. Any questions you have, I'm happy to take it in my next podcast. We will name your question. Who is asking the questions, please provide your full name, whether you're an investor or a financial advisor, and let us know what question you would like to get answered. Thank you very much.